The number one reason this film rocks is Joseph Kosinski, as you guys know, the director of Top Gun Maverick, and really a guy that kind of emerged with Top Gun Maverick as one of these Hollywood directors that were like, where's this guy? We didn't pay attention to him before. And then you see Top Gun Maverick and you're like, what? And then tonight you watch F1 and you know he's not a one-trick pony, okay? He brings out everything that you want in a full-throttle PLF cinema engagement, and this film is extremely engaging viscerally, and you are locked in, man. This thing is essential that you see it on a very massive, loud screen. This film will not play the same at home, okay? I like the film a lot, but this is tonight for me, as I rave about this film, this is about being in a movie theater, okay? It's so important that you grasp the essential nature of seeing some of these films in the loudest possible format and biggest, obviously. That would be an IMAX. For me tonight, it was Prime, a Dolby, 4DX, which is Regal's like seats moving around like a ride. It would be perfect. In fact, I'm going to tell you here tonight, there's a very high likelihood that I'm going to go see this film at Regal. First time I've ever been to Regal to see it in the 4DX. This film is made for that. Remember, last year, Twisters did very well with that. Or was it 2 years ago now? Good God, time flies. I think it was last year. When you look at this film, it is built for that exact format because you have all of that just massive overload and just a wall of sound, right? And it just takes over your entire being, and you can just feel it down right through you in these chairs that they have at AMC. They have Prime, and they got subwoofers in those chairs. So this is not going to work if you're not doing that, okay? We talk about why you need to target certain films in that premium large format, right? Which is the Prime, Dolby, the IMAX, like I just discussed, the 4DX. Because these things are thrill rides. Like, this is absolutely that. So when you rob yourself of that and you go cheap and you go for the regular, you're not going to have the exact same connection to the film that I just had. So you have to do that. That's foremost. The number one thing you've got to take out of this that has to be done here tonight. I love some of the moves that Kosinski makes directorially. You know, early on, there's a crash. I'm not going to say which character. You guys know this is formulaic, okay? You're not watching something you haven't seen before, just different iterations of it. Go back to a Days of Thunder, any film where you've got well, obviously that's the racing film equivalent, but you look at any film where you have the grizzled vet teaching the young rookie who's cocky, that thinks he knows everything. Well, guess who knows more? Of course, Brad Pitt here, who's been around the block a time or two. But again, what works here, though, is Kosinski's choices. When that crash happens, he drops all of the sound out, and you just get the images, and it's just perfect. It's so well done, okay? And this is what we talk about. We talk about elite directorial calibration, okay? And you talk about calibration on a car. Well, hello, here on a film, perfect. And that's the kind of stuff you're looking for. So when it hits, you're like, yes, okay, that is a choice that I adore. Okay, I also, and you guys know I'm a huge fan of Brad Pitt. I mean, you go back to a film that I think was robbed from just a prestige standpoint, awards-wise. You look at Ad Astra, a film that is a hell of a lot stronger than Gravity, yet Ad Astra, did it even get one nomination? I'm pretty sure it got 0 Oscar nominations, right? Didn't get visual, didn't get sound. Maybe it got sound. But listen, when you look at Brad Pitt, you're looking at a guy, I think, that's getting stronger on the back end of his career. I think it really started for me with Moneyball, right? You go back and you look, he's doing some of that same stuff here. I mean, listen, Brad Pitt, occasionally you'll see him stretch outside of what he typically does, but you know what you're getting. But I think as he gets older, you're getting kind of that Redford quality, right? He's just so comfortable in front of the camera that you can't help but feel secure and with this journey that he's on, along with the rookie Damson Idris, who have heard a lot of things about British actor, and this dude is going to be a star. I mean, it's very clear when you watch this, he physically has that, right? He has that imposing kind of figure that just works. I think that you have to have the stature physically to be able to command the big screen. And he does, without question, okay? So that's another thing that you can lock in here. Kerry Condon is strong. When you look at everybody here as an ensemble, you're looking at performances that work across the board. And when you talk about this film on an awards level, right, you're talking about the elements of this film technically that should be right there, and it goes back to that all-encompassing sound. This film will envelop you, and that's why, again, you've got to get that Prime, that Dolby, whatever the really premium sound is on this. You got to lock that down. But I think this will, without question, be a contender for that. I know that Apple is going to run the FYC on that and tag team it with Warner Brothers. As you may or may not know, Apple Films pretty much paid for this thing, went to Warner Brothers and said, hey, can you help us out? Can you distribute this? And Warner Brothers obviously has the know-how. They've done that forever, so they know how to get this thing out to the markets and is certainly overseas. You know, F1 is a sport that's not so big in the United States, but overseas, whole nother story. So this film should have a larger, much larger international box office final than the domestic. But I can tell you right now, as we get ready to wrap this evaluation and move on, because it's really everything, there's not much more to add here. This is something that you have to see in a theater. It vaults to number one in the summertime draft of films that we are seeing so far. This is by far the best film this summer. It is a 92%